Welcome to China Undercover, where we rip the veil off the stories Beijing buries. Today we plunge into the heart of Indonesia, where the once shiny promises of Chinese investment are crumbling under a wave of fury and chaos. A nation that welcomed Beijing's billions now seethes with resentment, as debt traps, environmental ruin, and broken dreams fuel a nationwide rebellion. Buckle up, this is a story of betrayal, rage, and a fight for a nation's soul. Indonesia in flames, the cost of Beijing's ambition. Indonesia is ablaze, and the sparks are flying far beyond its streets. From Jakarta's neon-lit sprawl to the quiet villages of Sulawesi, cities pulse with the chaos of shattered glass, burning buildings, and defiant chants. What started as whispers of discontent has ignited into a firestorm, driven by fury at corrupt elites and China's suffocating grip. This isn't just about local scandals, it's a revolt against a foreign power accused of plundering a nation's future. Once hailed as Southeast Asia's golden child, Indonesia dazzled with its vast resources, youthful workforce, and strategic shores. Global powers, especially China, saw it as a prize, a gateway to Asia's economic boom. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, Beijing swept in with glittering promises, high-speed railways, sprawling nickel mines, even a vision for Indonesia's new capital. Leaders shook hands, toasting a partnership that would catapult the nation into modernity. But the reality on the ground tells a darker tale. For ordinary Indonesians, China's projects brought not prosperity but pain. Wages froze while inflation skyrocketed. Jobs vanished, replaced by debt and despair. Nickel mines, sold as the backbone of a green future, gutted forests, poisoned rivers, and uprooted entire communities. Tales of environmental carnage spread like wildfire. Mangroves razed, coral reefs smothered, waters choked with toxic sludge. Whispers of backroom deals, bribes to lawmakers, and elite enrichment grew louder, stoking a rage that had simmered for years. The breaking point came with a scandal that hit like a thunderbolt. Parliament members exposed for pocketing housing perks worth 10 times the minimum wage. For a nation scraping by, it was an unforgivable betrayal. Coupled with slashed budgets and China's deep economic entanglements, the public's anger exploded. From Jakarta to Surakarta, Bandung to Medan, streets filled with furious crowds demanding justice, not just from their leaders, but from the foreign giant they blame for enabling corruption. A nation's rage from protest to uprising. What began as protests over elite greed has morphed into a full-blown uprising against Beijing's influence. Chinese lank businesses, nickel smelters, factories, shops, are now targets of rage. Workers strike, blockades, choke operations, and videos of poisoned rivers and dead fish flood social media, tying Chinese projects to local suffering. Stores tied to Chinese investors are looted, their goods strewn across streets as symbols of exploitation. In Makassar, South Sulawesi, a regional parliament building went up in flames, a blazing testament to the people's fury. The unrest has paralyzed Indonesia's economy. Factories stand silent, transport hubs are frozen, and nickel shipments, vital to China's electric vehicle empire, are stalled. Global markets brace for shockwaves, but for Indonesians, it's a fight for survival. Food prices soar, small businesses collapse, and daily wage jobs evaporate. Families face brutal choices: pay rent, buy medicine, or eat. Meanwhile, Chinese nationals in Indonesia flee in droves, escorted by police through hostile zones. Jakarta's airports teem with panicked families clutching hastily packed bags, a stark sign of how dire the crisis has grown. The tragedy deepened when a delivery driver was killed by a police vehicle, turning grief into rage. Police and troops, armed with water cannons and armored vehicles, clash with protesters wielding sticks and Molotov cocktails. Tear gas chokes streets once alive with markets and laughter. But the crackdown only fans the flames. Crowds chant "China out" as banners demand reform. Social media amplifies the movement, with viral clips of burning buildings and police brutality dominating feeds. TikTok, under fire for its Beijing ties, blocks live streams, but censorship only fuels the defiance. Hashtags like Free Indonesia surge, framing the unrest as a battle for sovereignty. Indonesia is engulfed in chaos, and President Joko Widodo is struggling to contain the firestorm. His pledges to eliminate lawmakers' lavish perks and cancel a Beijing visit are seen not as diplomatic finesse but as a frantic admission that ties with China have become a political poison. These moves, however, fail to quell the rage surging through the streets. The protests reveal a nation scarred by inequality, political betrayal, and foreign overreach, raising a haunting question. Can Indonesia wrest back its sovereignty, or has Beijing's influence burrowed too deep? The human cost is devastating. Families lose their livelihoods as nickel plants shutter, leaving workers jobless. Inflation soars, markets empty, and survival becomes a daily battle. Children are pulled from schools, unable to afford fees. Expatriate communities once settled in mining towns now flee in fear, abandoning decades of investment. Indonesia's youth, already short on opportunities, watch their dreams evaporate as foreign capital flees. Their anger fuels the protests, their voices echoing loudest in a generation that refuses to be silenced. Trust in institutions is collapsing. Each instance of police prioritizing foreign interests over citizens chips away at public faith. Rebuilding that trust may be a lost cause. Indonesia's unrest is more than riots. It's a global warning. When local corruption collides with foreign exploitation, societies ignite. While Indonesia burns, Beijing orchestrates a grandiose distraction. A September 3rd military parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of victory in the anti-fascist war and China's resistance against Japan. Tanks rumble, jets scream, and missiles gleam under Beijing's smoggy skies. A spectacle meant to project unyielding power. Yet, beneath the fanfare lies a desperate attempt to mask vulnerabilities. Costing over 37 billion yuan, 100 billion new Taiwan dollars, the parade devours resources while China's economy stumbles. Factories close, unemployment spikes, and youth despair festers. Yet the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, pours billions into this display. Netizens mock it as a glorified spring festival gala, a hollow show, not a testament to strength. A Shandong resident told the Epoch Times, "Our resources, minerals, metals, the wealth of 1.4 billion people are hoarded by the elite. How many cannons could feed the starving?" Critics see the parade as a reflection of the CCP's insecurities. Unlike U.S. parades, which honor history, China's event mirrors North Korea's authoritarian posturing. A Chinese-Canadian student, once a fervent nationalist, now calls it a pointless display of inferiority. A mainland lawyer dismisses it as propaganda to prop up a regime blind to its people's struggles, economic collapse, joblessness, and social unrest. The parade's timing, amid Indonesia's turmoil, highlights Beijing's disconnect. While Xi Jinping flexes military might, whispers of his declining health compared to 2015 fuel speculation. In and expect bizarre discussions with Putin about organ transplants and living to 150 circulate online, a surreal distraction from a faltering economy and rising dissent. Indonesia's uprising and China's parade are two sides of the same coin, facades hiding deeper failures. In Indonesia, Beijing's Belt and Road promises have soured into debt traps, pollution, and resentment. In China, the CCP trumpets strength while its people grapple with despair. The lesson is stark. No amount of grand projects or military pomp can conceal exploitation and inequality. Indonesia's fight is a wake-up call for nations ensnared by Beijing's ambition. From Africa to Asia, the pattern repeats. Dazzling deals breed debt, environmental ruin, and unrest. For Indonesians, the stakes are immediate: lost livelihoods, stolen futures. For the world, it's a chilling glimpse of what happens when unchecked power meets shattered trust. This crisis may be just the beginning of a broader reckoning across Asia. How the CCP has shaped a broken culture. In recent weeks, a video circulated online that stunned viewers both in Taiwan and abroad. The footage shows an elderly woman from Shanghai making a scene on a public bus in Taiwan. Far from the image of calm dignity one might expect from a senior citizen, this woman displayed aggression, arrogance, and a shocking lack of self-awareness. Her behavior was not only embarrassing on a personal level, but also emblematic of a deeper problem: the cultural decay of mainland Chinese society under decades of Chinese Communist Party, CCP, rule. In the video, the woman, claiming she was from Shanghai, shouted angrily at a Taiwanese passenger, "I'm 72 years old. Can't I sit? You shouldn't sit. You won't live to my age." When challenged and told to go back, she erupted even more, insisting, "I'm Taiwanese. I have a Taiwanese passport. Does it make you mad?" She then unleashed a string of foul curses too offensive to repeat. Her exaggerated gestures and wolf warrior tone made her look less like an elderly woman and more like a caricature of the CCP's combative propaganda. At one point, she bragged about owning property in Shanghai while mocking the other passenger as poor and only good enough to take the bus. This, in itself, was telling. The woman was enjoying the freedoms, civility, and food safety of Taiwan, things denied to her on the mainland, yet she lashed out at Taiwanese citizens with venom and arrogance. What does this reveal? It is not just one woman's bad temper. It is a window into the mentality shaped by decades of CCP brainwashing. The party has taught generations of people to see aggression as strength, to equate wealth with superiority, and to treat kindness as weakness. In other words, it has warped the very essence of humanity. The CCP mindset exported abroad. This incident was not isolated. In another viral video, a Chinese woman was stopped by a Filipino immigration officer for breaking the rules. Instead of complying, she raised her voice and demanded, "What's your purpose in doing this?" The official calmly replied, "This is the Philippines, not China. You have to follow our rules." The stark contrast between the official's composure and the woman's hysteria once again highlighted a problem: the inability of many mainland Chinese to respect the norms and laws of other societies. This disregard for rules and civility abroad is not accidental. It is the byproduct of CCP ideology, a political culture that teaches citizens that struggle is the only way to survive. For decades, the party has promoted an environment where shouting, bullying, and intimidation are seen as effective tools. This wolf warrior mentality, exported overseas, now embarrasses China on the global stage. The contrast with Taiwan. The cultural gap becomes painfully obvious when comparing mainland Chinese behavior with that of Taiwan. Another video told the story of a group of Beijing youths visiting Taiwan. One of them injured himself while riding a bicycle and had to seek treatment at a local hospital. What shocked them was not the injury, but the reaction of the Taiwanese nurses. The nurse gently said, "Mr. Lee, we haven't called you yet. Please wait a little longer." Later, during treatment, she reassured him, "This will hurt a little, but it will pass quickly." The Beijing youths were stunned. They couldn't stop laughing, not because the nurse did anything wrong, but because they found such politeness unfamiliar. One of them even admitted, in Beijing, the nurses would yell, "Did I call you? No? Then get out." This humorous yet telling moment highlights the cultural divide. In Taiwan, where traditional Chinese culture has been preserved, politeness and respect are the norm. In mainland China, after decades of CCP campaigns that destroyed Confucian values and promoted class struggle, rudeness and aggression dominate daily life. Everyday incidents of aggression. The Shanghai bus incident is only one example. Across China, countless videos show similar behavior. On April 30, 2023, a mother and daughter tried to cut in line at a tourist spot. When a man stopped them, instead of apologizing, they lashed out angrily. The woman shouted repeatedly, "Don't bully me! Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you're a man!" This hysterical reaction mirrored the Shanghai woman's tone on the bus. Both incidents reflect how ordinary Chinese citizens, young and old, have internalized the CCP's culture of confrontation. Politeness is seen as weakness. Aggression is seen as survival. Even worse are incidents of deliberate fraud. One widely shared video shows a young girl staging a fake accident. With professional tools, she carefully prepares to fall in front of a car to extract money. Her blank expression and mechanical performance show just how normalized dishonesty has become. Elders without shame. The decline in morality is not limited to the young. Elderly people who should embody wisdom and dignity often display shameless behavior. In one video, a man in black stood with both hands raised high to show he was innocent, yet the elderly man next to him suddenly lay down on the ground pretending to be injured. This was not a spontaneous collapse, it was a calculated act to extort money. Such fake falls have become so common in China that they have a name, peng cu, touching porcelain. The fact that elderly citizens engage in this scam illustrates the moral bankruptcy of society under CCP rule. The roots of the problem, the CCP's culture of struggle. Why has Chinese society reached this point? The answer lies in the CCP's deliberate destruction of traditional values. Since 1949, the party has carried out campaign after campaign, the Cultural Revolution, the Anti-Rightist Campaign, the Great Leap Forward, all designed to replace traditional morality with loyalty to the party. During the Cultural Revolution, children were encouraged to denounce their parents, students to attack their teachers, and Red Guards to destroy temples and ancestral halls. Compassion, humility, and respect, all central to Confucian thought, were labeled feudal and eliminated. In their place, the party instilled a struggle mentality. To survive, you must fight, shout louder, and crush your opponent. The elderly woman on the Taiwanese bus, now 72, was likely a teenager during the Cultural Revolution. She may have once been a Red Guard herself, taught that kindness equals weakness. That training has stayed with her for life. Today, she displays the same aggression she learned in her youth. The global embarrassment. These incidents have global consequences. Videos of Chinese tourists fighting abroad, cutting in line, or throwing tantrums go viral, damaging China's image internationally. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore, nations also influenced by traditional Chinese culture, rarely see such behavior. Why? because their governments preserved cultural values while modernizing. Mainland China, under the CCP, destroyed them. This is why, despite boasting of 5,000 years of civilization, CCP-controlled China often appears uncivilized to the outside world. The party claims to defend tradition, but in reality, it has severed the link between the people and their cultural heritage. The Taiwan question. This matters deeply for Taiwan. For years, the CCP has been pushing propaganda to convince Taiwanese people that unification is inevitable, even desirable. They portray Taiwan as too divided and argue that the mainland's centralized system is more efficient. But look at the reality. In the mainland, efficiency means mass lockdowns, welded shut doors, fake vaccines, and floods of censorship. Hong Kong is another warning. After the 1997 handover, the CCP promised one country, two systems. Today, Hong Kong's democracy has been dismantled, media silenced, and activists jailed. If Taiwan were to fall under CCP control, it would suffer the same fate. The behavior of the Shanghai woman on the bus is more than personal embarrassment. It is a preview of what CCP culture brings: aggression, shamelessness, and the destruction of civility. The book 9 Commentaries on the Communist Party notes that wherever the CCP has gone, it has left a trail of lies, famine, war, dictatorship, and fear. What we see in these videos, whether it is an elderly woman shouting on a bus, tourists cutting in line, or scammers staging fake accidents, is not random. It is the outcome of a system that rewards ruthlessness and punishes kindness. Meanwhile, Taiwan stands as a living contrast. Their traditional culture, politeness, humility, respect still survives. The question is, will Taiwanese people preserve this heritage, or will they allow the CCP to drag them into the same cultural abyss? For anyone watching, the lesson is clear. Do not judge the CCP by its slogans or propaganda. Judge it by the society it has created. And in that society, we see aggression without shame, survival without morality, and citizens who have lost the very values that once defined Chinese civilization. Share your thoughts below, subscribe, and hit the bell for more from China Undercover as we expose China's hidden truths.